My girlfriend's new friends tried convincing me to have an open relationship with her. I laughed and walked away with the ring I planned to propose with. Then she faked a pregnancy to get me back and ended up having a panic attack when I exposed her in front of her family. My girlfriend and I were together for about 4 years. We met at work when we were both struggling, and somehow we just stuck together through every rough patch. For a long time, I really thought we were solid. We had those phases where money was tight, or one of us was stressed from work, or family stuff got messy, but we always found a way back to each other. I thought that meant something. I thought we were growing into that couple who actually makes it. I got promoted earlier this year, which was a big deal for me. I don't come from much, so getting to that level made me feel like all the work and late nights were finally worth it. I was planning to propose. Not in a fancy way or anything. I just had a ring sitting in my jacket pocket for weeks because I wanted the timing to feel right. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want opinions or pressure. I just wanted to do it when it felt natural. Around the same time, my girlfriend started hanging out with some new people she met through her job. They were loud in this way that didn't match her at all, always talking about freedom and being spontaneous and not letting relationships hold you back. They had all these little sayings about alignment and exploring yourself and living without limits. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Everyone needs friends. I'm not controlling about that stuff. But then they started coming around more. They'd show up at our place with drinks and these messy conversations that went nowhere. And every time I saw them together, I felt like my girlfriend was trying on a personality that didn't fit her, like she was forcing herself to be someone she wasn't. I didn't say anything because it didn't seem worth a fight, but I started noticing how different she talked and acted when they were around. One night they invited me to this so-called game night. I thought it was going to be something normal, like cards or board games, but it turned into them picking apart our relationship. They kept bringing up how monogamy is old-fashioned, and how everyone our age should be open or at least experimenting. They said unless I was insecure or uptight, I should be okay with my girlfriend exploring her options. They even tried framing it like I was holding her back from growing. I didn't blow up or anything. I just got tired. I left early and told my girlfriend I had work the next morning. She said they were only trying to help us communicate. I didn't see how pressuring someone into a lifestyle they don't want is communication. But whatever. Things got worse when they cornered me at a cafe a few days later. It wasn't planned, but it definitely felt like it. They sat around me and brought up the same open relationship idea again. They kept throwing these little lines about how SX is just SX and how I needed to loosen up. They talked over me every time I tried to explain I wasn't interested. And the more I listened to them, the more obvious it became that this wasn't even about exploring. They just wanted my girlfriend to match their vibe, and I was in the way. I actually laughed because the whole thing was ridiculous. I pulled the ring box out of my jacket and set it on the table. I told them I had been planning to propose, and that they all basically talked themselves out of a wedding. They went quiet in a way I've never seen. My girlfriend looked like I slapped her, even though all I did was tell the truth. I walked out. She followed me all the way home crying, asking what I was doing, asking why I was throwing everything away. I told her straight that I wasn't signing up for a relationship where her friends had more say in it than I did. She kept trying to backtrack and say it was just a discussion, but I wasn't interested anymore. I told her I was done. The fallout was immediate. She called nonstop for days. Her friends sent paragraphs about how I overreacted. Her sister texted me asking what happened, because all she heard was that I left out of nowhere. I didn't give details to anyone. I wasn't trying to smear her, I just said it wasn't working anymore. I was hurt, but I really did feel like I dodged something bigger. I actually started feeling more like myself again. I hung out with my brother more. I could breathe without feeling like I was disappointing someone every 5 minutes. Then a week later, she showed up at my door. She was shaking and holding her stomach and telling me she was pregnant. She kept saying she didn't want the baby to grow up without both parents, and that this was a sign we should try again. She looked terrified and hopeful at the same time. I'm not stupid. The timing was way too convenient. It was like she was pulling the oldest relationship-saving card in the book. But I didn't show any anger. I didn't accuse her of anything. I didn't even argue. I just asked her if she was sure and let her talk. She kept saying she wanted us to start fresh and build something stable. She didn't mention the open relationship stuff at all. It was like that entire meltdown never happened. I told her we should talk later and that I needed time to think. Mostly because I didn't trust a word she said and wanted to figure out what angle she was playing. And that's where everything is stuck right now. She says she's pregnant. I don't believe her. She wants me back. I don't want to go anywhere near the mess she created. I'm trying not to jump to conclusions, but something in me knows this isn't going to end cleanly. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I handled everything flawlessly. I just know I'm not interested in being manipulated, pressured, or dragged into drama that isn't mine. Update 1. I took a couple days to breathe because I didn't want to respond while still irritated. The only thing I feel now is this weird mix of disbelief and annoyance that someone I planned a whole future with is behaving this strangely. After she came to my door and announced the pregnancy, I stayed calm. I just told her I needed to see paperwork. I just wanted clarity. That was enough to send her spiraling. She gave a bunch of excuses that didn't line up. She said she hadn't gotten paperwork yet because it was too early. Then she said she forgot it at home. Then she said the clinic didn't give her anything because of privacy rules. I didn't argue. I didn't even point out that she'd contradicted herself. I just said she could show me whenever she had it. Every time she fumbled for a new reason, I let it sit. It was like she wanted a fight. And when I didn't give her one, she got frustrated. That same night, her mom contacted me. She sounded worried and confused, asking why I had abandoned her daughter during a pregnancy. I didn't defend myself or explain the whole story because I've seen how that plays out. When you try to justify yourself with a parent, they hear what they want to hear. So I told her to ask her daughter for proof. That was it. No ranting, no trying to get her on my side. Over the next couple days, my ex tried playing this emotional roller coaster with me. One minute she was acting fragile and hurt. The next she was posting these vague messages that made her look like a victim. Then she'd switch to acting angry that I wasn't running back to her. Every time she tried calling, I let it ring out. I didn't block her yet because I wanted to see what direction this was going. What really confirmed everything for me was a conversation I had with a mutual friend. She reached out on her own, and she sounded stressed. She asked if I could keep her name out of anything that might happen, because she didn't want to get dragged into whatever mess was forming. I told her I had no interest in involving anyone, but that I didn't understand why she was scared. That's when she told me the whole group knew my ex wasn't pregnant. She told one of them she made it up to win me back and prove how much I mattered. The friend sounded guilty for knowing and not saying anything earlier, but I didn't blame her. She was intimidated by the new friend group the same way I was annoyed by them. Hearing it from someone on her side didn't make me emotional. It just made me realize she was willing to drag anyone into this lie if it felt convenient for her. It made something in me shut off completely. Whatever part of me was still sad about losing the relationship kind of evaporated. The next day, I asked her to meet up. I told her straight up that I knew the truth. I didn't mention the friend because I didn't want to get anyone else involved. I just said I knew she wasn't pregnant. She tried denying it immediately and went on this whole rant about how I was cold and uncaring and how this was exactly why she hesitated to tell me in the first place. None of it landed. I told her I would go with her to the clinic the next day. I said it plainly. That's when the tone flipped. She went from defensive to frantic in seconds. She said she couldn't go because she had already lost the pregnancy. It happened suddenly, just a few hours before. She said she didn't want to talk about it because it was too painful. She did the whole trembling voice thing she does when she's trying hard to make herself look smaller and more fragile. I didn't fight her on it. I didn't say I didn't believe her. I just said I was sorry to hear it and that I hoped she had support. That was all I gave her. It was like a balloon deflated in the room. She was expecting outrage or pity or some emotional display she could work with, and she didn't get anything from me. An hour later, her mother called again demanding answers. This time she sounded angry on top of confused. She said her daughter came home sobbing about a miscarriage and how I had stressed her out so much that it happened I didn't defend myself. I told her calmly that she needed to ask her daughter to walk her through the timeline and provide proof. That was it. After that, things started unraveling fast. My ex tried reaching me again, this time mixing anger with attempts to guilt trip me. She said I wasn't showing empathy. She said I didn't deserve to be part of this moment. She said I didn't care. It all bounced off me. I didn't give her anything back. What's weird is that her friend group kept trying to insert themselves too. A couple of them messaged me telling me I was punishing her because she wanted to explore herself. They said she was grieving and that I should be there for her regardless of what happened between us. One of them tried to twist it into some nonsense about how I wasn't emotionally mature enough for a liberated relationship. I didn't respond to any of that. I blocked them all. The longer this dragged on, the more obvious it became that she was desperately trying to control the narrative. She wanted her family to believe I had broken her heart. She wanted her friends to believe I was some insecure guy who couldn't handle freedom. And she wanted me to believe I had some responsibility to fix this situation I didn't cause. But all she did was push me further away. Update 2. I figured she would just keep her distance and let the situation fade out, or at least pretend to move on like she usually does when she gets caught lying about something. But instead, her mom called me again early the next morning, and she sounded shaken, not angry like before, just confused and scared for her daughter. I could hear it in her voice. She asked if we could meet in person, just the two of us, because she didn't feel like she was getting the truth from her own child. I didn't see any point in avoiding that conversation. I'm not trying to create enemies or add more drama. I just wanted the whole thing to be done. So I met her at a small coffee shop near her work. She said she didn't know what to believe anymore and needed to hear the whole story from me directly. I told her everything. I told her about the timing, the excuses, how her daughter couldn't provide even basic paperwork, and how she suddenly claimed she lost the pregnancy once I insisted on going to the clinic with her. I also told her about the mutual friend who admitted the whole thing was fake, without naming her. I wasn't trying to drag more people into this mess. Her mom didn't interrupt me. She barely even touched her coffee. By the time I finished, she looked defeated. She said she knew her daughter struggled with insecurity and making impulsive decisions, but she didn't think it would ever go this far. She asked me if I thought there was any chance her daughter actually believed her own story at one point. I told her honestly that I didn't know anymore. I'm not a therapist. All I knew was that the pregnancy wasn't real. She thanked me and said she'd talk to her husband. Then she apologized, again, for everything more than once. I told her I didn't need apologies. I just wanted this situation to be over because it had gone way beyond a breakup. After that meeting, her daughter must have sensed her mom was starting to question her because she went into full panic mode. She sent me a long series of messages throughout the day, jumping between blaming me for ruining her life and saying she still loved me and wanted us to start fresh. None of it made any sense because every hour her tone changed. One moment she said I abandoned her at her lowest point, and the next moment she said she knew she messed up and just needed time. I didn't respond to any of it. I'm not interested in feeding into chaos. She started reaching out to my friends too, which irritated me because they have nothing to do with this. One of my friends texted me confused, asking what she meant when she said I was trying to destroy her image. I told him to ignore her and not reply to anything she sends. About 2 days later, I got a text from her dad. I had never spoken to him directly before. He's one of those quiet, stern guys who keeps to himself and works long hours. I always got the sense he didn't dislike me, but we never really interacted much. His message was short. He said he needed to speak to me face to face and asked if I could come to a family dinner in a couple of days so I could explain the situation from my perspective. That threw me off. I wasn't expecting that. It felt like things had escalated to a level I didn't want to be involved in anymore. I didn't want to be part of their family drama, but I also didn't want them thinking I abandoned a pregnant woman. So I agreed. Update 3. I thought her parents wanted to hear both sides and then sort it out privately. I wasn't planning on fighting with anyone or humiliating her. I just wanted to be done with the pregnancy lie once and for all, so I could close the book on the whole relationship. I guess I underestimated how much pressure she was under, or how much she had boxed herself in with the story she created. When I got to her parents' house, everyone was already there. Her dad opened the door and gave me a stiff nod. Her sister was standing near the hallway, and she looked uneasy. Her mom was moving around the kitchen with that stressed energy moms get when they're trying to hold a family together. The air in the house felt heavy, like everyone had been waiting for the moment I walked in. She came downstairs a few minutes later. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept, but she was dressed nice and wearing makeup. It felt like she had prepared for an argument, or maybe hoped she could act confident enough to make everyone doubt what I was about to say. She didn't look at me directly, just sat at the table and waited. Her dad asked if we could sit in the dining room so everyone could talk openly. I sat at one end of the table, and she sat on the opposite side. Her parents sat between us. Her sister stayed closer to her mom, but kept glancing at me like she already suspected something wasn't adding up. Her dad asked her if she wanted to start. She took a deep breath and immediately launched into this emotional explanation about how I walked out when she needed me, how I refused to support her, and how the stress from all that made her lose the baby. I just listened while she talked herself deeper and deeper into it. The whole time, her eyes didn't meet mine. She kept looking at her parents like she was trying to convince them, not me. Her mom already knew what was up. Her dad kept frowning like he was trying to follow a story that didn't make sense. When she finally stopped talking, her dad turned to me and asked for my side. That's when I pulled out the folder I brought. I wasn't dramatic about it, just set it down and opened it. I explained everything calmly, how she announced the pregnancy right after the open relationship fight, how she refused paperwork, how she changed her story every time I asked for basic proof. I laid out the timeline I wrote, including the dates and the excuses she gave. Then I showed them the screenshots of her telling different friends completely different things. I didn't include anything that wasn't necessary, just the parts showing she wasn't pregnant and was lying about the clinic visits. Her sister leaned forward reading them, and by the time she reached the third screenshot, she covered her mouth with her hand. Her dad started asking her direct questions, like what clinic she went to and what day she supposedly got confirmation. She started tripping over her words almost immediately. The more calmly I talked, the more it seemed to rattle her. She kept shaking her head and saying I was twisting things, but none of it matched the screenshots. Her mom tried to get her to explain the contradictions, but she only got more scattered. It was like she didn't prepare for anyone to actually question her in detail. Every time her dad asked something specific, she changed her answer. At one point she said she had proof, but left it upstairs. Her dad told her to go get it. She just sat there staring at the table. He asked again, firmer this time, and she still didn't move. Her mom turned to her and asked if she had ever been pregnant at all. Her daughter didn't answer. She just stared at the table. The silence made it worse. Her dad asked her one more time, louder, and something in her broke. She started breathing fast, like she couldn't get enough air. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body stiffened, and then she started crying so hard she couldn't speak. It looked like panic took over her whole system at once. Her mom moved to her immediately, trying to help her breathe, but she kept gasping and clutching her chest. They took her into the living room, and I stayed at the table because I didn't want to crowd them. I could hear raised voices, her sister asking why she lied, her dad asking how far the lie went, her mom trying to calm everything down. It was messy and painful, and I didn't feel good watching any of it. I didn't feel guilty either, though. I told the truth. I didn't yell, I didn't insult her, I didn't bring up anything unnecessary. I kept it to the facts. While they were in the other room, her sister came back over. She looked embarrassed more than anything else. She apologized for believing her and for thinking I abandoned her. She said none of it made sense in hindsight, but she trusted her sister because she never imagined she would lie about something that serious. I told her not to worry about it. I didn't blame any of them. They reacted based on what they were told. After a while, her dad came back into the dining room. He looked furious, but not at me. Not even in a loud way, just disappointed and tired. He thanked me for telling them the truth and said they needed to take care of their daughter from here. He said he understood if I wanted nothing more to do with the situation, and he was right. I did want nothing more to do with it. I didn't go into the living room. I didn't need to see her like that, and I didn't need to be part of the aftermath. I stood up, grabbed my folder, and told them I hoped she got whatever help she needed. Final update. After the chaos at the family dinner, things didn't immediately settle, but they started moving toward clarity. Her parents were furious at their daughter, but at least they finally saw the pattern. They cut all ties with her friend group, the ones who had been pushing this idea of freedom and open relationships and basically feeding her lies. Her mom sent me a long message a few days later, apologizing for everything that had happened and saying she understood why I did what I did. I didn't respond with anger. I just thanked her politely and set boundaries. I told her I didn't want to be involved further with any of it, and I meant it. I wasn't going to be dragged back into someone else's drama. Her social life shifted fast after that. She started backing away from her new friends, the ones who had been at the center of this mess. She even started therapy, which her mother and sister strongly suggested. I don't know how deep her realizations went, but I could see she was taking steps, even if late. She tried sending messages, apologies, little attempts to reach out. I ignored them all. I had nothing left to give. I didn't feel any satisfaction in hurting her. I didn't feel anger or sadness either. I just didn't want her in my life anymore. One unexpected turn came from the friend who had confessed to me earlier in the saga. She reached out a few weeks later, saying the entire friend group had imploded after everything came out. She admitted she had always thought I was respectable, someone different from the chaos that surrounded her friends, and that she had been scared of them. I didn't hold anything against her. I understood fear and peer pressure too well to blame her, but I told her I didn't want any further involvement. This was me drawing the line. I drove past the park where I had planned to propose months earlier. The sight didn't make me sad. I didn't feel cheated or heartbroken. I felt relief. Relief that I hadn't committed myself to someone who couldn't value me, who was willing to lie and manipulate to get her way. Relief that I hadn't allowed myself to be a participant in that kind of drama.